But it just goes to show you like how content and knowing more and understanding your patterns and understanding your insecurities, all of that kind of stuff is just a band-aid a lot of the time. And really,
Yeah.
the thing that you're covering, like the band-aid, that's the thing that you should be looking at, actually. I guess I'd start off the topic of how people use self-improvement to avoid themselves is whenever you're using it, or and I can think about my journey as well, to avoid the hero's journey part of it. Because I realize that that's what it is. It's like a hero's journey part
Mm.
of it, where the hero, you don't watch a hero's journey, you don't watch like your favorite nerd show like I do. You know, I love all that stuff. I love Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, all of that
Oh
kind of stuff.
yeah,
You don't like that stuff
absolutely.
if nothing happens, if something
Yeah.
fundamentally stays the same, if you're never challenging yourself and your fundamental beliefs. Actually, what it made me think of is when somebody's in a bit more of an expert stage, you can say, if we want to talk about developmental psychology, and they just use all of like the data to support their beliefs, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's kind of under the guise of like being rational, them being
Yeah.
rational, or them like, oh yeah, I'm just getting all the facts. But if you spent 10 years learning all of the facts and you have the same conclusion and you have the same way of thinking that you did after those 10 years, then maybe there's just like a real lack of change and introspection there. Maybe, right? Most of the time. So when it comes to self-improvement, I'd say the biggest thing which I see that successful people struggle with is they're getting all of this. We don't want to call it surface level success because there's a lot of how do we say this? Like good traits that come out of this kind of stuff, like getting promotions, making more money, maybe even getting out there and founding and starting a new business, right? This is kind of the main kind of things that main kind of archetypes that me and you work with. All that stuff is well and good, but you know that you're using all of this self-improvement in a fundamentally limited way when you're not actually challenging, and I'm going to use a bit of symbolism here, like the dragons inside of you, because I don't
Yeah.
quite know how to explain it. That's also why I wanted to speak to you about this, because I'm not sure how you'd explain it, but there's a difference between like moving up a level versus moving to the next paradigm. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And I suppose what comes up for me is just that level of comfort we have, not only when it comes to this avenue, but
Yeah,
in general of doing more of the same,
yeah,
you know, and it's like this thing's been working for you for a long time. Maybe it's like growing a business or whatever.
yeah,
And so it's really tempting that maybe there's this problem of you're feeling a lot of stress, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling um, a lack of worthiness, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe you wouldn't even articulate that, but you're feeling resistance and tension because of that.
yeah.
And it's just so tempting to go, oh, let's do more of the same.
Can you speak on what you
And
just said there, actually? Where you said, oh, it's
the,
actually resistance to me admitting that I have that. You said something like that.
right.
Yeah, like, oh, like
Yeah.
admitting, like, oh, I don't want to look at that. So then I just do more. Right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's like you might be even aware of that, but we just then project the worthiness or project the story
Yeah.
into what's comfortable for us.
Ah, yeah.
Into like, oh, well, when I get this next milestone, then I'll be solid, you know.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. You can see it on the outside. It's so obvious. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, didn't you do that last time? Didn't you
Yeah.
do that the time before?
Yeah.
Didn't you try it 5 years ago?
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't know. That's the reason is because of the X's and the O's and this and that and bit. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
okay, sure. That didn't count, you know.
Yeah.
And when you're in that moment, I'm sure you've experienced it. I've definitely experienced it. It's so real.
Yeah.
It's like that doesn't count.
Yeah.
This next one, this is what's going to take me through that.
Mm.
But then it's almost like that when you're seeing the pattern and you realize, oh, that didn't break through
Mm.
what I actually really wanted.
Yeah.
You know, that didn't actually, like you said, slay a dragon that
Mm.
was running it to begin with.
Yeah.
That was some great skills that I learned along the way.
Hmm.
Made a lot of money. That's fantastic. But the underlying experience is somewhat similar.
Yeah.
The
Do you know what?
experience of, go on.
No, please. What were we gonna say?
I was going to say the experience of being unworthy, the experience of,
Yeah.
even feeling unsafe or unloved or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. That's the same, and we've just got a kind of new wrapping paper
Mm.
to see it through
Yeah.
in some ways.
Yeah. Reminds me of like maybe I'll give you an example of what kind of this brought up for me. Working with an older dude, I think in his 60s, successful, he's in like a relationship, and he said something to me as I was explaining some principles that we just wanted to go over because he just wants to have better communication in his relationship, be able to hold his frame,
Mm,
or be able to be respected without having to like do all of this like stuff, like all of that stuff that's out there
yeah,
on YouTube. I mean, there's a ton of great creators, right, that do stuff like that. And I'm not knocking that. I'm really not. It's just he's in a different phase of life where that stuff isn't so appealing to him. And I was like, oh yeah, like so we're working on some relaxation stuff, like really going deep into relaxation where you're in a place where certain things, like certain emotional outbursts or just the relationship in general, just won't affect you. And we were working on that. And then I said something like, oh, like there's those kind of guys where they look really relaxed on the surface, but there's just like a bit of tension, like below the surface. It's because they're
mm,
not fully relaxed in their own body. And he said something which is like, oh yeah, actually that's me. Like that's one of um my guy. Like that's like one of my problems. I'm one of those guys that you were just describing. But then
yeah,
to talk about using self-improvement as a defense mechanism, like knowing more, he was like, oh, but let's keep on this level, on the communication level. When really
mm,
I was trying to steer it back to, well, what's making you be a bit on edge and feel like you're that person
yeah,
is that can't fully own himself. And we still do some good work there, but you can't push anyone further than they're willing to go, especially in that kind of a container. But it just goes to show you like how content and knowing more and understanding your patterns and understanding your insecurities, all of that kind of stuff is just a band-aid a lot of the time. And really,
yeah,
the thing that you're covering, like the band-aid, that's the thing that you should be looking at, actually. Like all that stuff is great, like going to the gym and like when I started martial arts, as Cameron actually started his martial arts, he actually done beast mode on the competition this
mm,
weekend if anyone's watching, especially for someone who's only been training for what, like 3 or 4 months, something like that.
yeah, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you want to share it, you can, but I was quite impressed by his performance. But when I started martial arts, like that was therapy for me.
Mm,
You see, like
absolutely.
that was therapy for me. And but it hits a it hits a plateau at some point for like how healing that can be because it makes you more
Yeah.
confident, makes you okay with aggressive people, like water off a duck's back when it comes to like any kind of conflict. But
Mm,
there's a point where that stops. And
yeah,
it's at that point that I see so many successful people, smart people, right? Intelligent people. They've been at that point for how many years? And they keep on doing the same thing, which is I'm just going to get better at this. I'm going to go to the gym
mm,
more. I'm going to go on a cut. I'm going to meditate more without integrating it into day to day life, right? That's the caveat there.
yeah,
Meditating more is great as long as you're doing the integration process at the same time. I'm going to go to therapy and talk about all of my problems. And we're not trying to say that all of that stuff is bad. That stuff is amazing. But there's a point
absolutely.
where it has to go to a deeper level, like an embodied, like that's
Yeah,
when you can bring back the hero's journey again. Like that stuff didn't change because they just sat around and talked to their friends the whole time. Or they just,
yeah,
or Samwise Gamgee just got better as a gardener, or that Frodo
Right.
opened up an inn, right? That is another hero's journey.
Yeah.
But there has to be a bit more of that agentiveness, like actually going out. You have so many impulses. And maybe I'm going a bit off track here, Cameron. So if I'm confusing you, let me know. Because I'm trying to work out I'm actually trying to work this out as I'm speaking. It's like the knowing is over here, but the real gold is over here. And it requires a different
Yeah.
way of approaching. I'm not sure if that brings up anything for you.
Yeah. What comes up for me, and it's of the same flavor, um, of actually one of the things that we've been speaking about over these, 15, 16 podcast episodes. It's been a
Mm.
real theme
Yeah,
of don't just do this too, kind
yeah,
of not just, I mean, I suppose the integral model that we have become deeply acquainted with, I think it's how we both view the world in many ways of like
yeah,
taking all of it, learning from everything.
yeah.
And this is another example of it, right? Of when you're going very external, maybe, or even you could see deep in meditation as an external, internal experience at times, right? If
Mm.
you're doing it in that way.
Yeah,
And then the gold is going into the depth, like seeing the actual dragon that you haven't slayed.
yeah.
But then also, what we were speaking about in many ways last week was the opposing, but still from the same principle of when you're going so deep, you've slayed so many of those dragons,
Mm.
and the dragon is the external,
Yeah. Oh, I love
right?
that. Yeah.
And we spoke about that too. And the principle, I suppose, that seems to be emerging is almost going into that discomfort. And sometimes the discomfort is being okay with being a little bit more comfortable
Mm.
and receiving at times,
Oh,
right?
that was super hard for me, actually. Nah, you just
Oh,
brought that up.
yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, you can see by how Cameron is laughing at that really that really hit
Oh,
for me. Yeah, that can be a big one actually,
yeah,
like learning to
yeah,
be a bit more comfortable and not always just like
yeah,
going
yeah,
crazy, basically, for lack of a better term.
absolutely. And I don't want to steer off too much because I think I've got a really good thing
Yeah, of course.
exploring going from external into depth. But just, I mean, we touched on it a little bit. My own jujitsu journey that's been emerging, had the competition on Sunday,
Yeah,
was a very intense experience.
yeah,
I was proud of how I performed. I didn't get the win, but I felt really competitive, and I was like, "Oh, I'm doing jujitsu."
yeah,
Right? That was a feeling of like I actually hit a technique that I'd used and like
yeah,
really drilled
yeah.
against a guy who was, obviously giving it their best.
Mm,
And I was like really happy with that. I mean, I lost a little bit on points,
mm,
but that journey of jujitsu for me has been a little bit of going so deep, so internal.
mm.
And now, what's an avenue of external that kind of not even balances out, but adds to the harmony of the ecosystem? It
Yeah,
almost stretches it a little bit. And I've just noticed, and I'm sure you've had this experience, whenever you kind of go into a new area, it almost helps the old area expand too.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
get just that
for
assemble of
sure.
emergence where they come together.
Yeah,
And I'd actually be really curious, and maybe we need to come back to the kind of main theme, but now that you've done all this internal work,
yeah.
I imagine how you looked at jujitsu is like
Oh,
completely
bro, it's
different.
completely
So I know you've
different.
been training a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, completely different. Actually, I'm mentoring somebody who's in that space quite heavily. He's a black belt competitor, right? And he's really good at explaining, we'll call him Joe, right? Joe's really good at explaining like how each breakthrough he has that we have together changes how he views jiu-jitsu, right?
Mm.
He's like, oh, like it can be like a limitation here, or there's a tension here, or it's mainly around, it's not necessarily like techniques, right? So maybe if somebody's like a founder or like a competitor's a bit out of the ordinary for me, even though I used to be one. I usually either work with people who are founders, independents, or kind of like a technic like a more like a hardcore kind of technical job. So like software, um, corporate finance, that kind of stuff, right? And then so
Yeah.
founder or that kind of thing. And so for them, it's not like you are learning, like I call it like hard data. So that's like a new
Mm,
actual like skill, like learning how to code in a different way. Or if you're a founder, like learning how to do filmmaking. That's like a hard skill set, right? But what it breaks through is like the soft skill set. If you want to do hard versus soft skills. And what Joe's really good at is every time we have a breakthrough, it's like removing the soft skill is doing this move without fear and hesitation. And then when you're in a combat sport, if you've never been in a combat
yeah.
sport, Cameron knows this because now he's been in the competition thing. If you do anything with even just the slightest bit of hesitation, it's like doing the move with like a ton weight on your back.
Mm,
You can still do it if there's that much of a skill gap, and also if the other person's going through with hesitation too, right? But any kind of hesitation, and that's why I actually love people who do like a competitive sport because it's such a good litmus test of this work that we're doing. Because when you remove those things, there's a tangible outcome that's different. Whereas, like, if you're someone like a founder, the lessons that you get are probably really like what you're working on now is going to show up 6 months later, you know?
mm,
And it's the same with more kind of like corporate hierarchy as well. Competitor, if you have a
yeah.
competition, that shit is showing up today, you know? That is showing up right now, you know? So with Joe,
Yeah.
it's like removing the soft skills, like having more flow, having the certainty, being able to actually execute. And also, a lot of
Mm.
it comes down to like actually believing you are that person that can be that way. Like I can't
Ooh,
tell you
yeah.
how many times I was in a competition, a tournament. Tournaments were always, I think they're still the most difficult in terms of combat sports because it's you're running a sprint and a marathon at the same time. You're running.
What,
Oh, please go on.
just for, because I don't actually
Yeah.
know, what's the difference between a normal competition and a tournament?
A tournament is the
Just
normal
for people who don't
competition,
actually know.
right?
Oh,
Now
okay, okay.
that's the standard. The other ones is something called a round robin. A round
Right.
robin is when you fight everyone in the bracket, and then whoever has the most wins goes to the semifinals and then the finals, right?
Ah, okay,
Or
gotcha.
then there's a super fight format where it's just like one match, and sometimes they split it up with
Mm,
rounds. Sometimes it's 10, 20 minutes. And yeah, those are basically the main ways. And with a tournament, like I said, it's a sprint and and a marathon, which is really annoying. Like when I was in Euros,
mm.
that whole division, which had about 30 something people in it, took 5 hours to run.
That's wild.
Yeah, and
30. That's
yeah,
crazy.
30, crazy. From the time my bracket started, it was an hour before I had my first match, and then in between my first and my second match was 1 or 2 hours. So you're sprinting
Wow.
in the 6 minute match because this was at blue belt. You're sprinting in the 6 minute match, and then you have to manage your energy and you have to manage your focus for the long tournament. And what I kept because I was super locked in for this, I ended up getting third, so I didn't win, but it's still pretty decent. And I noticed, like, wait, I'm actually slipping in and out of the identity. I can put this together now before I viewed it in a different way to speak to your question. I'm slipping in and out of the identity of the guy that enjoys the competition and wants to be here versus the guy that just wants it to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can relate.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Everyone who's been through a tournament goes through that. And when it comes to that, it's like improving all of the soft skills where you are effortlessly that person that's just enjoying the moment and doesn't want it to end,
Mm,
actually. Right? That's going to affect your performance in that competition. And that also is obviously not just competition dependent, it's in whatever you're doing. Whenever you're going through adversity, whatever you're going through something which is a little bit difficult, but you know in the end will be good for you. Like I just released a video a couple of weeks ago called How to Turn Stress into Strength, and it's my masterclass on anti-fragility. And
mm,
now even after you asking me that question, I can look back at that video and be like, oh yeah, that's also applicable to this in terms
yeah.
of like how you can actually shift your instead of just doing stress management techniques, which have their place, you can actually build yourself, or actually, I actually don't like using the word build. I think the word, and let me know what you think about this, that's better is unlock. Like unlock
Mm,
who you actually are, you know,
yeah.
unlock your ability to actually be anti-fragile. Um,
Oh,
what's that coming up for you?
absolutely.
What's coming up for you
I
actually?
mean, I'm just seeing because unlock is so great.
Yeah,
Because if it's not that we're building anti-fragility, we're just removing the fragility.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
most toddlers, like unless they've gone through some kind of toxic parenting,
Yeah,
right? They're pretty not
fearless.
fragile in
Yeah,
some ways, right? They
yeah,
get hurt
yeah,
and they're sensitive to like hurt,
yeah,
but they're not then creating fragility from it unless it
yeah,
was traumatic in some way,
yeah,
right? They get hurt, they crack on. And
yeah,
that is in many ways anti-fragile because it's not about not getting hurt
yeah.
at all,
No, not at
right?
all. Yeah, yeah. That reminds me, or that makes me think. That's exactly why we made this video, which is because
Mm,
um you said the toddler just cracks on, right? Like gets hurt and it cracks on.
yeah,
The people that
yeah,
use self-improvement, so many successful people that use self-improvement as a way to avoid themselves, is they get hurt and instead of cracking on, they just stay in that hurt and they really feel everything and they make sure, how do I research everything to make sure this doesn't happen again and all that kind of stuff. It actually just makes you super
yeah,
reactive, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really
And
interesting.
I suppose the great thing about that terminology is seeing it as an unlock. It's just when
Yeah,
we remove the stories, that's the kind of experience that emerges.
yeah,
And I can massively relate, in this one experience and leading up to the competition of going in and out of a part of me that when the stories dropped away was just like, this is freaking awesome.
yeah.
Like this is so cool. Like
It's super
and
fun.
it was a really intense. I was actually really surprised when I got there because I was expecting 3 or 4 mats, right? There's usually like 3 or 4 like fights going on at once,
Yeah,
right? From what I've seen from
yeah.
other
It is like that.
competitions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I turned up, there was just one mat
yeah.
and everyone's watching 100, 200 people.
That's right.
And they're not just passively watching, they're like involved. Like when the
Yeah,
guy
people are
gets the
super
sweep,
passionate.
everyone's like, oh,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
people are really into it. I'm like,
yeah,
that really threw me off at the beginning. I was like, oh my God, everyone's watching me. And I
yeah,
remember I was just having this experience of in and out. Like there would be moments where just stories would drop away
mm,
and I would just feel the energy and the chaos, and it would just be really such a wonderful experience. Like you don't get
yeah,
that
yeah,
ever during a normal day.
yeah,
Like it's just not something that you normally have. And with
yeah,
that, I was really like, oh, this is amazing. And then occasionally the stories would come back. It would get a little bit overwhelming, right? It's a brand new experience. And like that part of me that's like, I just want to go. What the hell? Why did I sign up for this?
mm,
What is wrong with me that I have
yeah,
signed up to do this?
yeah,
You know? And now it would go back and forth a little bit. But it wasn't that the anti-fragility was the building of anything. It was just the absence of the stories. And there was
yeah,
just this really beautiful experience that emerged from that.
yeah,
And even during the actual match,
yeah,
that was like almost the beginning. I was
yeah,
so into it. I was just like no stories. It was like a dream state, which was a little
mm,
bit weird. Like it was
yeah.
really weird. It was like I
It
was in
is
a
like
dream
that. Yeah,
for 2 minutes. And he felt really light at the beginning. I'm like, oh, I'm just like did a sweep. I'm like, I don't do that in training. How
yeah,
did I do that here?
yeah,
And then it kind of then there was an instant switch at 1 minute where actually I got the dominant position and it was almost like I could slow down.
mm,
And in that slowing down, the alternative ego state kind of came up and the heaviness emerged. And I was more into like, okay, I need to get this over with. Let's make sure we get the win. And that's when it became a little bit more difficult. He ended up starting to win.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just I love the way you put it, unlocking
yeah.
anti-fragility.
Self-improvement is not supposed to be a shield between you and reality. It's supposed to
Yeah.
make you strong, capable, and anti-fragile so you can meet that reality, with full vulnerability,
Yeah.
no shield between
Yeah.
you and that person. Full
Yeah.
vulnerability, full compassion, full strength. That's how I view it.
Mm.
And I think if you're getting into the trap of using it as a shield, because here's the thing, if you use it as a shield, like it is kind of doing its job, right? Like it's protecting you, like it's making you better. Like
Yeah.
the reason why people are doing it or you're doing it is because it is working. And it's a big ask actually to ask somebody to put that shield down, I think.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
suddenly you have this body here which is vulnerable. But then over time you realize that if you start approaching it in a different way, this can become stronger than that shield can ever be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the idea of becoming flexible like a bamboo tree
Mm,
comes forward. That's the kind of real anti-fragility.
yeah.
That's the real strength that we want. But when you're at a shield and the shield of self-improvement, of I did my gym today, so that gives me a tick. The shield feels a bit stronger today because I did my
Mm,
gym in the morning.
yeah.
I woke up at 5 a.m. Shield's a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
I, you know, did my meditation routine. Shield's even stronger.
Mm,
But then the moment we have a day, which is natural, like it just happens, especially if we've been holding a shield for so long,
yeah.
but we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Shield feels real weak.
Yeah.
And underneath is not used to being vulnerable.
Mm,
It's not used to being kind of exposed. And so it is not ready for it. And it's not,
yeah. Yeah.
it is fragile,
Yeah.
right? It is fragile. And this is the only thing that's protecting the actual fragility. But when we almost expose the fragileness, it's almost like just burning off that dead wood,
Yeah.
like seeing what's actually there, you know?
Yeah. Seeing what's actually there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know for me, and I wonder if you can relate in social interactions, I created at points and it would mature, but it was still a little shield.
Mm.
At the beginning, it was a subtle arrogance that I would
Yeah.
pursue as confidence.
Yeah.
There would be a shield to my actual vulnerability
Mm.
and lack of self-esteem at times.
Yeah.
And if I was just arrogant and, you know, confident in air quotations, then I would feel strong.
Mm.
And that matured, right? That a lot of that dropped away. But then it would form into better, much better versions, right? Where I was like, okay, I'm not going to be some arrogant guy. I'm not going to be an arsehole. I'm just going to focus on deep relaxation.
Mm.
But even that became an avenue of a shield rather than deep.
Yeah.
Not even vulnerability is part of it, but that's not all of it.
Yeah.
But exposure to who we are and really unlocking
Yeah.
who we are,
I
right? And having no shield, right? No
yeah.
doing in
Yeah.
some ways.
I think the change that you're looking for is in that exposure, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Which was not something that I wanted to hear maybe a couple
No.
years ago
Oh, it's
at all.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
because it's so not natural to cling to the thing that's working,
Yeah.
to the technique or the principle even,
Yeah.
and then dropping that away. Even clinging to a idea of a sophisticated idea of meditation,
Mm.
which I've definitely done.
Yeah.
And even throwing that away and being like, oh, who am I? What is my experience without that?
Yeah. That was a big one for us,
And
actually.
that, oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. That
I
was
know for
actually
me,
oh, please.
go on.
Well, all I wanted to say, and then I want to hear what you said, what you were going to say is that was like kind of our last big version of what we're talking about here. Like, it wasn't necessarily
Yeah.
knowing more or like using self-improvement. I guess you could call meditation self-improvement. But for us, it was
Yeah.
more like us trying to transcend the self, which to people that
Oh,
haven't done that practice will sound like really woo-woo. But it's like with self-improvement, there's still
Yeah,
a self that you're improving. Me and Cameron went that version on steroids, and we tried to just escape from the self for the whole time. These are like three
absolutely.
hour sits, but it didn't end there. It was like 24/7 meditation practice all the time.
Absolutely.
And that was our shield, wasn't it? And that's why we felt,
Yeah.
or actually, I don't want to say we because I'm just saying what my experience is. I felt like a weird sense of like emptiness all the time. And there was like, I couldn't fully
Mm,
tap into happiness and fulfillment, even though
yeah.
objectively that time was a great time of life. And it just felt really frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like I was doing all the practices, but I wasn't actually having the unlocking the true self, if you want to talk about it like that, or the higher self. It felt like I
Yeah.
was in that weird, like static mode, you know?
Mm. Oh, absolutely. I can definitely relate. And it was a really sophisticated way of meditation. And it's something that we both still use as a
Yeah,
framework
yeah,
within integrated practice.
yeah,
But definitely, I think at the beginning, it was an unlock at the beginning, I would say,
yeah,
of, oh, I can work with my internal state in this way,
mm,
this effectively.
mm-hmm,
So we'd done retreats and meditation before, right? We both did a 10-day retreat with a different style of meditation.
mm,
But when it came to this style, it was like, oh wow, this really works.
yeah,
And there's a progression, there's like a real detail in how our teachers would say, okay, you're here, and now if you focus on this and allow this to emerge, this is
yeah,
going to be most likely what you experience next. It's
yeah,
really sophisticated, really
yeah,
amazing technology. But eventually it did become something that I was trying to transcend,
yeah,
right? Transcend the self. And it was a degree of bypassing for sure.
mm,
It was a shield, a really subtle shield. And I remember when, because we were lucky to be given an almost option out of it of like,
yeah,
okay, there is something you're experiencing that is actually a shield.
yeah,
That it's amazing. It's a great state practice. You've learned a lot,
mm,
but there is something deeper underneath.
yeah,
But I'm not just going to throw you into the wilderness. Here's an amazing shadow work um, meta model that you
mm,
can use to go and actually do the work now.
yeah,
And when you hear that, when you're like you've been given a path, it's easy to let the
to
old
let that
thing go a
go.
little bit.
Yeah,
It's hard to just say let the old thing go and not be given an alternative option.
yeah,
But even in that period, that bridge, I remember what I experienced was both relief in that there's a new path, and the
mm,
path that felt more integrated, but still
yeah,
included the old path.
yeah,
It was much more integrated.
yeah.
But there was also a
Grief.
real
I had a ton of
grief and
grief.
chaos.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
me, there was a chaos because it almost felt like my state was up here solidly all the
yeah.
time. It was a doing state. I had to do myself. I had to do it, put myself into that state, right?
Nice. Yeah,
You know, whether it was metta or equanimity or emptiness, whatever it was, I was a doing, but I got so good at the doing that it just became 24/7.
mm,
And yet, when I allowed that to just not be the only practice, to move more into the shadow work systems,
mm.
there was a drop in my kind of everyday experience at first. So I was almost meeting where I was
I had the same.
in some ways actually at, like whether, yeah, I was meeting
Yeah,
the
where
lower
I
parts of
actually
me.
was, not where I was trying
Yeah,
to project myself into. Like, oh
yeah,
wait, I am still mortal. I didn't necessarily
yeah,
mean that with like arrogance, but it's more like in like a
yeah.
I'm just
I'm
exposing
still
my deep
human.
shadows. Yeah. Oh well, I'm still
Yeah,
human, but I'm better than everyone.
still
Um,
more so much better than everyone. Yeah, of course.
yeah, exactly. But yeah,
um,
it's so humbling, isn't it? It was super humbling. And
oh,
that's the leap
absolutely.
that I guess that people have to go on. Like, that I
Yeah,
see my clients who have been through those heroes' journeys, they have to go on that leap. Where it's like, oh wait, like,
yeah,
yes, like I've got like everything on paper is good, but it all starts with actually saying, but I'm not satisfied, or there's something missing here.
yeah,
I'll give you an example of that,
absolutely.
actually. if I have this actually someone I just spoke to right now, and one of my big long-term clients, and he's a founder. He went from working in fintech, exiting, being able to play for all of these super high ticket mentorships, really be able to work on himself. And he did the research as well. He done like really legit modalities like reparenting. He went to India, went to the source, learned spirituality that way. And now he founded his own business, digital nomad, independent, um, location independent, financially independent, no boss, nothing like that. But the big thing that we're working on is that journey that me and you went through, which is socializing, right? And one of the big breakthroughs, we had two like massive breakthrough sessions where in each of those sessions, we had two big breakthroughs because I was like, I'm getting this fixed, right? Let's get to the bottom of this. And in the last session, not the session before, although that was the foundation of it, one of the big things was realizing that saying that I'm afraid doesn't mean that we're giving our power to that fear. So he can
Mm.
now say, oh, wait, this thing, socializing, getting out there, because he couldn't focus too much on relationships and dating because he just had so much on. He was just like doing so much. Now we're getting back out there a little bit more. It's okay to say, wait, this is a bit scary, right?
Yeah.
Everyone thinks that way, unless someone's like really, you know, different, if you want to put it that way, in terms of like antisocial, or maybe they just have this area figured out, right? And that actually took power away from the fear, saying that.
Mm.
It
Oh
doesn't seem
yeah.
like that from the outside, but no, it doesn't seem like that from the inside, but obviously from our point of view, because we've just done this for a while, that doesn't really come as a surprise, most likely. But seeing that and seeing that you can liberate yourself from that experience by simply owning up and saying, wait, this is actually a challenge for me. The same way that me and you were just talking, how we had to come back down to this state, be like, wait, we are actually feeling this way, which means we have to go and do shadow work and make sure that
Yeah.
these things aren't around for too much longer. I think that's when it comes to like the knowledge thing that we started, like using self improvement as
Mm.
a shield. If you're trying to use it to lock yourself off from those internal understandings, like if he was using self improvement to pump his state so much that he didn't have to listen to that fear anymore, then actually what you're doing is
Yeah.
just reinforcing the fact that this thing is really powerful and that you can't address
Yeah.
it directly. You have to go around it. You have to mind your P's and Q's. You have to go
Mm.
that and fix it that way. Does that bring up any stories for you?
You know what it brings up?
What?
I don't know if you ever read it. It's like an old children's book of like the dragon underneath the bed,
I might
right?
have.
And
Yeah.
it's something along the lines of because they don't acknowledge it, the dragon just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger
Wow.
until it's like so big it like destroys the whole house. But then there's a moment in the book where they acknowledge it, where they finally have to acknowledge it, and they look
Mm.
down at the dragon, and the dragon gets smaller and smaller and smaller
Mm.
until it's some cute little dragon in the hand.
Yeah.
And I think fear, and in many ways, all the emotional experiences that we go through are like that.
Yeah.
You know, the most anti-fragile thing to do sometimes is be okay with the fear.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
like
tough
instead of
to get my
yeah,
head around.
it it,
Yeah.
it is tough
Yeah.
because we think fear means fragile, bad, vulnerable, or whatever it may be.
Yeah. It means we're a
But
coward or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing for me was actually freedom. I remember freedom was so like binary, as tied to freedom means this, this, and this, and this,
Oh, that's right.
and not this, this, and this. And then one day, just this emergence of absolute freedom came through,
Yeah.
and it was like a re-owning of my own power.
Mm.
Oh, I'm free here, 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 and at least on an intellectual play and a deep somatic experience, I'm even free if I were to be in prison. Like that's how far it went to,
Mm.
right? Obviously, that was a intellectual in the mind playing with it, but what it was breaking down what freedom actually meant.
Yeah.
Freedom was my own experience. I
Mm.
could feel deep freedom right now even if others have physical power over me.
Mm,
I remember, and I was watching a demonstration with Kim actually,
yeah.
and he was working with someone, and it really clicks because it kind of this was almost a precursor. The person was in a situation where they actually didn't have power,
Right.
right? They were in a situation where the other person had complete physical power over them.
Mm,
And the story that was coming up wasn't that they needed to return their power from the other person to actually be more physically powerful because they weren't. They
mm,
weren't in that moment. They genuinely weren't. But the power that came back was, oh, okay. I don't need to resist it, fight it. I can't in this moment,
yeah.
right? And the power came from like, oh, it's okay
Yeah.
in this moment, right? And there's a degree of nuance there, but
Mm,
it's just removing that power from these external simulators. And I think the same with fear, of almost when we make the fear this binary of having fear is bad, and then we almost become afraid of having the fear.
mm.
But when
Oh,
we become okay with it,
that gave me so many memories. Yeah. Keep going.
yeah,
Yeah.
when we become okay with it, we almost re-own the power
Yeah.
and we're able to be afraid and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. If you're using self-improvement to shield yourself from that fear, rather than just letting that fear be there, be your teacher, whilst not being reactive to it. That's almost a distinction that's
Yeah,
coming up for me, because it's the fear of fear which is making you feel weak, or the shame of fear,
yeah,
right? Sometimes, because if you look at it, like if we want to bring a bit of like actual, how do we say this, more objective biology into it, fear is like a heightening emotion. It's there to keep you on your toes. It's there to keep you alive.
yeah, yeah,
Is there anything that's more empowering than something that's literally designed to keep you alive? I can't think of anything, you know?
yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
it's not the sensorial experience itself which is the thing that's making us feel weak. It's our internal reaction to it. And this is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. When I used to compete in jiu-jitsu, I used to know that whatever you resist persists. But I would
Mm,
accept the thing with the sneaky back door that by me accepting it, this thing would go away. So obviously that
right.
doesn't work, right? But when I were for whatever reasons, I always in the bigger competitions, I just had a much better mentality for them. I think it's because I prepared a lot for them, and also I just enjoyed it a lot more because it was higher stakes. So I was just able to focus a lot more. But in all of the competitions where I did better, it was when I truly just accepted, oh wait, I am afraid. Like nothing else. Like I am afraid. And what happened was the craziest thing. I felt all of that fear. And in that way, you could say I was afraid, but I was unaffected by it. And instead, what it
Yeah,
actually gave me was all of that energy and that heightened emotion. There's only one time I've competed, actually maybe twice, where I just didn't feel anything. I felt super chill. And both of those times it was a super underperformance. First one was against some like MMA grinder dude. He didn't have the best jiu-jitsu, but he just passed me and whatever. As you can tell, I'm still a bit salty about that. The second time, the second time was at a bigger competition called Abu Dhabi Grand Slam London edition. People can probably look this up. It's out there somewhere on YouTube. And it was also at the time, it was the time when I let my girlfriend come and watch me, where I didn't let anybody come and watch me other than the people I trained with. My first match at Purple Belt, I rock up in 20 seconds, I get flying armbarred. I've never been flying armbarred even in the gym before, let alone in a competition, right?
oh my God.
So that wasn't the best start to Purple Belt. And that was the time where I underperformed because I didn't have anything. So you don't want to suppress it either. You don't want to suppress it and
Yeah,
you don't want to accentuate it. It's the middle path, which is just there is fear here. I do feel afraid. At
yeah,
the moment I am relating to it. It takes away so much power from it. So maybe if you're watching, if somebody's or somebody you're working with, I can think of a few clients I'm working with who maybe are using it a bit as that. as that shield, right?
Yeah.
Just experiment with dropping it, because I think what you'll do is you'll
Mm,
realize that you're more capable than you otherwise have given yourself the opportunity to prove, and also you're giving yourself credit for.
yeah. I suppose what comes up, and I'm curious to hear your perspective from, especially from that experience, is the experience somatically and then the experience cognitively, the label,
Yeah.
which is how we view it, creates the experience.
Mm.
So, and I've had not as much experience with this, but subtly, when the cognitive experience changed, if this is fear, this is bad, this is something to run away from, or
Oh, yeah.
even breaking away from, this is something to accept, just dissolving the construct a little bit.
Mm.
It's almost like the experience completely changes.
Dude,
You know, you develop almost just like a new chemical reaction that
mate.
emerges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely
And
changes.
almost like you get the intensity of it, but it's
Yeah.
not in the context of fear or bad. It's just the intensity
Yeah.
and the precision, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. You do get a lot of precision from it. Exactly like that. Like, it actually, this journey is supposed to make you more raw, right?
Yeah.
And less refined in a sense. Now, this is coming from somebody who right now is exploring like loads of models and is getting really heady and is really enjoying it right now, because it's just kind of feels like that's the stage I'm at. And I think it's the same for you too. But it's actually like about becoming more raw with life and being able to handle that. Doesn't mean that you become this like uncontrollable wild man, which me and you have a mentor that was a little bit like this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, I mean, he would say the same thing, you know? It's not like you're becoming like that, because that almost is like still a shield, actually, if it's going too
Yeah.
much of that much of a direction, you know? But it's about becoming like actually being there with the experience. Like when you're having a
Mm.
difficult conversation with somebody, like actually being in maybe that conflict and that fear that comes up, that clash, and being okay with it. And even
Yeah.
not being okay with it, that's where the real character development comes from. It doesn't come from putting the shield of like, oh, I'm gonna use all these tactics and I'm gonna appear like I'm not bothered and all that kind of stuff. There's a time and a place for that, when it comes to probably playing politics a bit more, I would say. Not like actual politics, but like actually having to play a little bit of a politics game if you're working with someone
Mm.
or whatever. There's a time and a
Yeah.
place for those things. But if we're doing that at the expense of actually putting our character in those situations and experiencing the full nature of them, like one of the biggest growth potentials I'm seeing with my clients, because I want to give you an example, is yes, we can have the right framework and we can do the shadow work, and that makes you more courageous because you know what to do consciously and you know how to, and you don't have anything unconscious holding you back. But it's actually about embracing the chaos and the fullness of life, where the next evolution of your character development is going to be. Like
Yeah.
someone who I'm still working with, he works in corporate finance, right? Big politics game there. Also, a lot of that kind of, for lack of a big word, like kind of better word, like dick measuring competition kind of environment as well.
Right. Mm.
And we worked on a lot of communication stuff and also a lot of shadow work stuff there. And now he's able to handle those environments much, much better. But the big thing came up is actually showing up and using all of that stuff as something to accentuate you, not something to put between you and the other person. So you listen and you trust yourself to be relaxed and to have those impulses that come
Yeah.
up and to follow them with the understanding that these things give you. And when he was doing
Mm.
that, suddenly the people that used to make jokes at his expense now don't do it anymore, right? Without him coming
Right.
across as like overly domineering, for example,
Yeah.
you know, and people would actually start listening to him more because before he was always very independent, very strong character, right? But that level of strength and speaking your own mind in those environments can be intimidating to people. He's not an intimidating person, like he's very warm-hearted. But it meant that when he didn't like something about something, he would say it. But just because of the way he was showing up, other people who wanted to support him didn't because, he's such a like a firebrand. And I don't want you to think that he's like some
Mm.
wild man character because he's really not. But now he's actually able to take that leadership position and voice the concerns of people who maybe wouldn't have the courage to do it themselves in a much more integrated way, where people want and they feel stronger around him and they don't feel like
Yeah.
he's a little bit of a wild card, if that makes sense.
Mm. That makes tons of sense. Was there a moment where that tipped over?
The moment was after understanding what vulnerability actually was and how it was actually a great strength. And we're not just doing vulnerability for vulnerability's sake. And
Mm.
then making him actually just feel more secure in himself. Because a lot of the time with those people, I'm sure, I mean, you worked with them, like that comes out of an overcompensation. Like you were saying it like in the boundary
Yeah,
stuff. Like, I don't believe it in here, so I have to make them believe it out here. Right?
absolutely.
Like that.
Yeah,
So it was the combination of those two things plus some communication. Like, how is it that people actually want to be spoken to? Not what we think
yeah.
they want to be spoken to, but what do they actually want to be
Mm.
spoken to with? And then we rolled with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a similar story, actually? You must do. Some of the clients that you worked with, or maybe it happens in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah, in a different way. But there's definitely similarities to what you're speaking about.
Yeah.
I had a client, and for him, he had this real desire to do events and public speaking,
Mm,
right? And a lot of people in his community, because he's doing really amazing in the kind of high ticket sales, closing community as a sales
nice.
manager and
Yeah.
running teams, were like, yeah, do it. And he's seeing all these people who are doing events, who are doing public speaking, who aren't as, in many ways, qualified as him, right?
Mm,
They're not running the level of teams he's running,
yeah.
but he was holding himself back from doing that. And in many ways, he was doing this self development thing of always grinding more in this area of,
Mm,
okay, I need to qualify myself more to get to the next level of teams that I'm running, right? To the next stage,
mm-hmm.
right? We did 7 figure months this month. Now we need to do multi 7 figure months. Now we need to get to, even beyond that. Then I can kind of go and do these events, right? Then I
Yeah.
can do the thing that's scaring me. And in many ways, that was his shield because the vulnerability, and it was an external vulnerability, was the events for public speaking,
Mm,
right? And we explored underneath that, and we did some really good work for a long period of time to get to the point where he stopped feeling like he needed to buffer the shield. He stopped needing to
mm,
add to his qualification to feel like, oh, I can do it.
yeah.
And he was able to drop that and be like, okay, well, maybe I can walk in vulnerable in some ways,
Mm,
not knowing what's going to happen. Because while I am extremely qualified and powerful here, I've
yeah.
never done an event
Yeah.
and I've never done public speaking. And that's okay. Almost like I don't
Yeah.
need to make myself the perfect armor to go and do this.
Yeah.
I can go and just show up as me and make mistakes probably, which is going to be even harder because everyone else is seeing me here
Mm,
crush it.
yeah.
And so now there's an expectation. I don't even get to be a beginner in their eyes. That's okay.
Yeah.
And he kind of got to a degree of acceptance in himself. He stopped putting the power outside of him of needing to make other people happy, needing to appease them, do it good for them.
Mm.
He was like, I want to do this because I want to do it.
Yeah.
This is what I really want. I don't really even need it for the money.
Mm.
He could go about this avenue and have no problems with money ever again.
Yeah.
But he went forward and he did it. And he's now, that's like what he's been growing with for 6 months or so now, like doing bigger and bigger events, doing these meetups, um, starting kind of his own thing based around that, along with what he's doing here.
Yeah.
But he had to drop the shield. He
Yeah.
had to drop the stories that came with it, that he couldn't be raw and vulnerable in it, but he
Yeah.
couldn't jump into that new avenue, right? He kind of stayed in that self improvement
Mm.
of what was comfortable and safe and what was easy, but then he had to drop it and go on a new hero's journey.
Yeah. What do you think the big lesson was there for you and for him actually as well, seeing him break through like that?
Yeah, I think there's a few, but often what's interesting is this was still the symptom and in many ways the trigger.
Mm.
And the underlying story was, I mean, as far out as you could think of, right? It's like, oh, wait, that's why?
Yeah.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm following the loving witness here, and this is where we got to. So
Yeah.
let's do that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And when we kind of give back the interject that had come up,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was kind of a bit about abandonment was kind of thrown
Mm.
in there, and this projection on needing
Good old bit
to
of
take on other
abandonment.
people's stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that had grown up into a story of needing to, it wasn't actually about money at all. He's actually extremely secure about money, which is why he's done so well.
Yeah.
It was about, I need to perform for these people, right? I can't disappoint
Interesting.
them,
Yeah.
you know? And so he was holding himself back from going ahead and doing it because he didn't want to disappoint others, right? Not even about
Mm.
himself. He wasn't really worried about being embarrassed, actually, or anything like that, which is what I would have thought it would be going out doing public speaking, that kind of thing. It was, oh, I didn't want to disappoint these people in my community,
Mm.
right? I want them to be like, oh, what was that? You know, you're
Mm.
always like, he feels that he needs to be at a high level all the time, which is stopping him from being new at something.
Ah, yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah,
That's a big one. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So when the story dissolved and the energy that was out there of disappointing others returned as, oh, okay, I get to have a power over how I view myself.
Mm.
There's no abandonment that's coming,
Yeah.
right? If they're going to be disappointed in me for doing something completely new and not being perfect at it,
Mm.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like we spoke about being okay with the fear or even in the boundaries episode, being okay with their reaction, not needing them to be happy, sad, disappointed, not disappointed, just being
Yeah.
okay with it. And then, you know, when he actually did it, he did really well. And he's just grown more and more in that. And none of the fears that he had came to light.
Yeah.
But even if they had, it wouldn't have been a big deal because the underlying story was dissolved, was gone,
Yeah.
and no longer meant what it did before.
Yeah. That's it from me. What about you?
That's a wrap.
Yeah. So if you guys vibe with Cameron, please go and check out his channel. I got all of his links in the link below and the comments below. I can't recommend him enough as well. If you feel like you're ready to start, just have a chat about doing work together, no pressure, nothing like that. Please go ahead and contact Cameron. If you guys want the step-by-step system that I use to create these kind of breakthroughs in my one-on-one clients, I have my free shadow work program also in the link below. All it's going to cost is your email. So I'll send you there and I'll send you a follow-up email to make sure you're getting everything that you need. Cameron, anything from you?
If you're watching from my channel, check the description or comments if you resonate with Aaron. If it's just check out his channel, which has got some amazing stuff, or go and take advantage of this free resource. Or if you do want to do work with him, I highly recommend him. If you resonate with him, yeah, Have a wonderful day.
Take care, guys.